What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Foxbody Junkie YouTube channel. I'm Brandon, and today in the video we're going to be working on getting our 86 GT T-Top project car up and running. Went through some struggles to get there, but in the end all that matters is that it's actually running, and it actually runs pretty good. So sit back, relax, kind of watch me struggle a little bit, and I'll show you guys some updates and how I got to that point. In the last video we left off kind of talking about alternator wiring and how I was going to move that around and kind of situate and organize all of that. So we pretty much got everything buttoned up and we get this thing started, so check in. All right, so leaving off with the alternator wiring, I did go ahead, it was routed right here and then over. I went ahead and routed it up under the frame rail, and I'll actually go under there and show you guys that. But everything's hooked up on the alternator. I went ahead and ran my mega fuse. It's tucked up over there, and I'll show you guys that now. So, like I said, a lot of stuff has changed here. We got a lot of work's been done. So this wire's coming off of the alternator. I got a bunch of leftover harness from the way that I did it. This is an original SN95 alternator plugs, so that way if I ever need to replace the alternator or anything, I don't have to cut any wires. So I went ahead and put a clip and just clipped all that up onto the frame rail so it's not going anywhere. We got the main power cable for the alternator running all the way on the bottom of the radiator support. Sorry if a lot of this is jittery. One thing I did want to touch on real quick, we went ahead and got new fuel lines put on for the feed and return. We also did lines on the back of the tank as they were all messed up. I did pressurize, that's the one thing I did do. I pressurized the fuel pump, meaning I cycled the key about 10 times and made sure we didn't have any fuel leaks or anything like that. So our main power cable is going up here to our 200 amp mega fuse, and then I've got it running back up to, so some people run them to the starter solenoid. You can also run it to the battery. I think either way will work. So I got the wire coming straight to the battery. The reason why I've done it this way is, if you guys know anything, well, if you're familiar with factory battery terminals on SN95 Mustangs, that's what these are. So these are actually battery terminals from the junkyard. Nothing wrong with them. They're in really good shape. That's why I'm using them. So the main power wire comes up to the power right here, and then it goes over to the starter solenoid like factory. So, and then I actually did some modifications to this ground cable to, so in 86 the connector down here is a lot different. This now has the, I guess probably 87 and up plug on it. That way if anybody wants to replace this ground cable with like a replacement 86, it will still work because that is the right connector down there. So I just like the look of these cables a lot better, just personal preference. I went ahead and ordered the terminal covers as well, so it'll look really clean. That being said, here's the engine bay, y'all. It looks freaking awesome. I am super happy with how it's turned out. Went ahead and got the Anderson power pipe put on. You can kind of tell a little bit there. That's red flake. I don't know if I've touched on that. When it's sunny out, I'll try to include a picture. So one thing, like I said, we're going to do, I'd like to go ahead, there's a little piece of fuzz right there. I'd like to go ahead and make a cover for this hole. That way it cleans it up a little bit and maybe paint match it so it looks a little bit better. Also with the battery, this is a SN95 battery tray. It is not a Foxbody one. It fit up really good. Got that from the junkyard also. Like I said, the main agenda with this car was to build it using, you know, used parts, and to kind of show you guys that you don't have to spend a bunch of money on stuff to make it look good. What you see here is like 85% junkyard parts. The only thing that's not is maybe the power pipe. You know, I put a new belt on it, but this is the junkyard power steering pump pulley. I did buy new alternator and power steering pump brackets. Those are from Speed Doctor. I've touched on those in the past, but these are the factory pulleys. Went ahead and cleaned them up. I did go ahead and put a new fan and fan clutch on it, just because I like to do that. But this is a used radiator that I painted, used fan shroud that I painted, used coolant tank that I cleaned up. This is a cap from the junkyard. You know, this is a cap from the junkyard. Power steering pumps from the junkyard. I just cleaned it up and painted it. You know, it doesn't it takes a lot of effort to clean all this stuff up, but if you guys are willing to do it, you can save a bunch of money. That being said, we did go ahead and do a 65mm throttle body, similar to like a 93 Cobra. It got the stock little spacer plate in there for the EGR. Did go ahead and block that off, made a little plate for that. So, and then went ahead and restored the original plaque. So that turned out freaking awesome as well. Then we went ahead, like I said, we got the intake bolted down. I did replace the heater core along with the heater hoses. That's one thing I like to do. So all the hoses are brand new. The only one that was used was this one, and because it was in really good shape. It's got a new lower hose on it, and these wires are actually off of my old 82 two-tone coupe when I originally built it. When I did the supercharger, I upgraded the wire, so I had those laying around. And let's see. Yeah, aside from that, just a lot of other stuff. We did go ahead and get our map sensor on the firewall here, painted the original bracket up, got this is actually a non-AC vacuum tree. Since we're running a non-AC, I thought that was kind of cool to run on there. Got all new hoses. Well, not new, this is all used hoses from again from the junkyard, just cleaning everything up and reutilizing what we can. But yeah, that being said, like I said, you can still see all the header paint is nice and shiny on the header, so we haven't fired this thing off yet, and it's super cold. So that being said, I think that's about the gist of it. There was a lot more than that. A lot of time cleaning up, you know, radiator hold down brackets, getting the hood latch set down on there, getting it functioning correctly, all of that stuff that comes with it. I did go ahead and jump out of the car real quick, that way you guys can see. So went ahead and got a BBK H pipe put on there. I put new O2 sensors in there as well. You can kind of see one hanging out right there. And we went ahead and filled the transmission up with transmission fluid. I got to tighten down the nuts for the transmission mount still, but I've got to locate some proper bolts for this right now. I've just got two of the wrong size ones sitting in there to hold it in place, so I got to do that. Went ahead and got the drive shaft put in. It's on there and tight, so that way when we start this thing, it's not super loud. It's going to be loud still because there's no mufflers, but yeah. So that being said, here's the engine bay. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. But I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod, and we're just going to see what this thing does. Well, boys, it's running. Sorry I didn't film first start, but, well, this is the first start. You can see the paint's burning off of the headers. There was a laundry list of shit that I had to do to get this thing started, and I will talk about that once I let this thing warm up, get some heat in it, and just make sure everything's okay. But it's running. All right, you guys, went ahead, I shot base timing, put it at 12 degrees with the spout out, and plugged it back in, and it jumped up to about, I don't know, around 22 degrees, give or take. And it's kind of learning, idling, doing its thing right now. I've got a little bit of heat in the motor. We've got awesome oil pressure. I don't know if my fuel pressure or my fuel sending unit works. I just used the one that was in the tank, so it may be bad. I know I have 5 gallons of fuel in there, so we might have to take that back out. But our alternator is charging. If that's the only issue we got, man, I'll take it. That's a freaking win. Once I went ahead and shot base timing, you could tell the engine's running a lot happier now. It sounds a lot better. Just listen to it, y'all. This is just with the open H-pipe, so keep that in mind. But I know all 8 cylinders are firing. All the paint is burning off evenly on them. So the injectors are good. That's awesome. I didn't know the condition of them. Man, I couldn't be happier. Been a long road to get here. Man, I'm freaking stoked. Drop a like on this video, you guys. It's worth it. This is awesome. This thing hasn't ran in who knows how long, especially with a fuel injected motor. I know it was a carbureted car maybe a couple years ago, but the original 86 fuel injected stuff has probably been long gone in this thing for a while. I'm gonna let this thing get up to operating temp. If anything happens, I'll let you guys know. But as it sits right now, I don't have anything leaking under it. You know, temps are pretty cool. It's running good. The alternator's charging, like I said, man. This is, oh man, I'm ecstatic, y'all. You notice, got the computer hanging out down there. That is what we're gonna talk about here in a little bit. We'll give it a little bit of a rev since it's got some heat in it and see what it sounds like. Ooh, it's snappy. Comes down to idle. Nice. Alright, y'all, we left this thing running. It's been running for about 10 minutes now. The coolant gauge has not moved from that spot, and man, I couldn't be happier. Like I said, comes right back down to idle. Now the true test, we're going to shut it off and try to start it and see what it does. Let's see. Woo-hoo-hoo. She's a fire breather now, y'all. You guys can kind of see that red flake poking out on that intake tube. Not be happier. All right, we're gonna discuss what the hell I had to do to get this thing running. All right, so I made some mistakes that cost me a couple $100. You know, on the bright side though, I'll never do it again. So long story short, I wasn't getting spark. to a point. I knew I was getting spark because it would fire off just a little bit once every, kind of rotation over. And, I thought that was weird because when I pulled the number 1 spark plug wire, I wasn't getting anything. But I could tell it had spark because it acted like it wanted to start. So, and I verified it wasn't a fuel problem because I'd spray starting fluid down the throttle body and it wouldn't change the way it acted at all. So I was really thrown off by it. Long story short, I put 3 coils on it, 3 different distributors. I started kind of throwing parts at it. This your normal stuff because, this is used stuff. I didn't know if the pip sensor was bad. I didn't know if the TFI was bad. Didn't know if the coil was any good. It was a used coil that I got. I didn't know. So I just started throwing some parts at it and nothing changed. So wager to say the parts that I took off of it were probably fine. However, I looked at everything and I double checked everything. My dad had an 86. I called him. I had him look over some wires that I wasn't 100% sure on, and everything was hooked up the way it was supposed to. So, I just kind of started with the basics again. I went to check the firing order, which I've never set one up wrong before, but there's a first time for everything. My dumbass, I'll show you guys what I did. My dumbass, so I like to group my plug wires together because I think they look better that way, right? Well, the coil wire, I got 1, 3, 7, and I tracked 7 back, and I'm tracking it, and where does it end up going? It goes to the coil. So I had the coil wire hooked up straight to number 7, which is why it was firing off. That one time it was firing on that one cylinder every rotation. So when I fixed that, I said, man, you know what? I found the smoking gun. I found it. It's going to start right up. And I fixed the firing order, made sure everything was good, dropped the distributor back down. Nothing. I said, man, what the heck is going on with this thing? And, well, long story short, I'll go ahead and show you guys what I did that cost me a couple $100. Now, some of you guys will say, it's not a big deal. It's an 86 computer, speed density, nobody wants it, right? Well, that's not quite always true. So, as you can see, how well this thing is running with the stock 86 style computer in it. Runs awesome. All right, so here's what I did. So, this is an 87 computer, and this is why I say I wasted a couple $100. Because an 86, a speed density computer is probably worth about $100, realistically, $150. So, this is an 87 computer. Well, this is an 86 computer, the one that I got with it. It's a VP1. It's an 86 5-speed computer. Everything looks good here. Capacitors look good. No real big problems here. However, I turned this board over. Let me set it down. And you guys can see right here on the board, that shit is basically fried almost all the way to the pin. And what happened, in my opinion, this is the pin for the pip sensor, by the way. When I had that hooked up, that coil's firing straight to number 7. I think I put too much voltage onto this pin, and it fried that pip sensor wire on the computer, not the wire itself. And I didn't check the firing order before I decided, hey, you know what? This is a used computer. I don't know if it's any good. Let me go ahead and swap it out. So I went ahead and put this 87 computer in here, and look what it did. This same exact spot. That's pin number 56 for the pip sensor. So let this be a lesson, if it's not already, just check your firing order. Sometimes, most times, a lot of times, it's the most simple things. A blown fuse, firing order's wrong, timing's a little off. Just check those. Because, being that I put 3 distributors in it, obviously, I checked the timing 3 or 4 times, rotated it over to TDC, made sure everything was set at 0, dropped it in on number 1, or just before number 1, because it's a little, whatever. If you guys have messed with Ford stuff, it's like right before number 1. You can't always get it dead on number 1. So, I did all that. I was confident that my distributor placement and my timing was correct, but I never checked the firing order. So that cost me a couple $100, y'all. you know, that's at the end of the day, that's cars. That's kind of how this shit works. I'm not perfect. We all make mistakes. But, you know, at the end of the day, we've got a running vehicle here. And I bought the last Reman 86505 speed computer that O'Reilly had. So I purchased it on their online store. It said in stock, ready to ship. It did ship. It got here in 2 days. And I went back to see if they had another one available, and it was no longer available. So I bought the last one that they had. Pretty good deal too. I got it for $77 shipped. I was like, wow, that's a whole lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. So hopefully this computer lasts a little while. I did open up the board and look at it. The board itself is a little dingy looking. It looks worse than the other two. But hey, you know what? It fucking works. Excuse my profanity. Woo. So, yeah. So that's where we're at. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. It's a big one. This is a huge milestone for this car right here. And things that we got to work on now. Yeah, it's running. Technically, if it had a shifter in it, I could probably drive it down the road. However, I have not bled the brakes yet. The back brakes still have drums. There's no e-brake connector or no e-brake cables hooked up. And when I take stuff on first drives, I like to make sure that everything is hooked up right. That way, if I get an emergency situation, I can figure it out. So, stuff moving forward from now. Obviously, I need to make a catback for this thing because we're not going to leave it open H-pipe. So that's going to be probably on the agenda number one. Once I get an H-pipe, or once I get a catback set up on this thing, on this deal, I'm going to go ahead and get the brakes working, get the front brakes bled, make sure all that stuff works. And I'm going to do a rear disc conversion on the rear as well. I don't like drums, and the e-brakes are cut. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So keep an eye out for the next couple videos on making this thing roadworthy. And man, I'm excited. Also, if any of you guys are interested in this car, it will be for sale when it's done. I'm hoping to have it done. If everything goes well, I'm hoping by the end of July it will be available for sale. We do have a couple things we're going to have to do on the outside. We're going to go ahead and repaint all the trim. Go ahead and put the GT hood stripe on it. Do a good solid paint correction. There's a couple chips and stuff in the paint that I'm going to fix. And then obviously we got to get the interior button back up and put back together. So let me know what you guys think of this thing. It is freaking awesome that it's running now. Could not be happier. Everything seems to be working as it should now that we've, you know, figured some stuff out. But yeah, well, aside from that, fuel gauge, but that's not a big deal. Like I said, if that's the only problem we got, I'm thrilled with that. So go ahead, drop a like, leave a comment, share it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.